Hello, this is the Cricket channel. I'm changing from Virus to Cricket because I want to focus more on the fusion of China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea. So I'm on purpose not putting my whole face on the video. So it's just harder to recreate everything if you want to create stuff. I also like Red Hat. You know, I have my book still. That's fine, but let's talk about China. So, how the Chinese economy works and how it harms its own people and the market-oriented economies, and how to counter it. So, I don't know about countering it, but anyway, this is a very long article by the Hudson Institute, and it's a sophisticated analysis. And I wanted to point out a couple of items that are pretty interesting. This is kind of like my second attempt at this, so hopefully you can hear some of the things that I'm kind of made a mistake on earlier. But anyway, I'll keep working on stuff. So this is just a work in progress. Appreciate your waiting until I get caught up to speed completely. But anyway, a lot of Chinese entities are operating at a loss. And this graph points out that it's from anywhere from 15 to 30% from 2012 on. So how do they know this? So there is some public information, and this is not conjecture. They're using the information that the Chinese are giving them. So it's probably a lot worse. That's the way I believe it. If the public information says 30%, it's probably a lot worse than that. So I'm going to talk about some of this Chinese and Russian stuff. And at the very end of this, I will discuss why this is important. Why should we be a little bit pay attention to China and the state of the economy in China and Russia? I mean, besides the fact that they're, more or less our enemy or our competitors or however you want to call it. Anyway, so Chairman Xi has consistently favored generous financing for manufacturing, technology, and infrastructure, and for the CCP's privilege of 100 million members. So that's the key there. However large the people of China, how many of them there actually are? Some people say. So the published numbers are 1.4 billion, but even if they lost 10, 20, 30 million in the Wuhan virus era, and if they lost, see, the problem is the country was only at 400 million in the 50s. It's very hard to grow 3 times. Sorry about that. I'm going to have to turn down the volume here. So,
sure, decrease.
So basically, the CCP has made this a big deal because they think that the more people there are, the better it is. But they didn't always think that. Chairman Mao forced everyone to only have one child, if you remember the one-child policy. Well, if you do some math of what happens when the whole country is on 1.0 instead of 2.1 to grow, there is probably no way that they are at 1.4 billion. So they were at a shrinking rate of growth, a shrinking rate of how many people are born versus people that pass away. So if that is the case for years now, there's no way they are at 1.4 billion. So the problem is they'll never tell you exactly how many people there are. There is some people have done conjectures and analysis, and it depends on who you're talking to. But it's anywhere from as low as 500 million to as much as over 1 billion, just over about 1 billion. So definitely that's quite a difference. So even if we say it's at 1.2 billion, so that's still 200 million less than what they say. So let's keep reviewing this, and you will see why that is a big deal. So we know Xi Jinping, the current leader of China, basically the dictator, he wants to focus on making China the #1 country in the world. So if you read Chinese history, they have, in the past, they called themselves the nation in the heavens. So they were one. They were as if they are the heavens, and they're the country. They didn't know anyone else at one point, and there was no reason to go and do any kind of exploration if you're the top country. And well, interestingly enough, there's a book which they did do some exploration. They went and explored down in Africa, and supposedly even reached the west coast of America, but they basically didn't do anything. They did, in Africa, they did exchange pleasantries, but they basically figured out that those people there are not as advanced as they are, so they kept them at arm's length. So anyway, there is a argument that China has various issues, and with their debt. If you look at this, China has taken on more debt than any other major economy since 2008. And the reason is, since Xi Jinping has these initiatives of technology-driven aspects, export-driven aspects, they want to push those things. They don't want to spend money on what they need to be spending money on, which is a consumption-based economy. So they don't want to help their people come out of poverty in true sense, because they don't want them to have any kind of power. It's all about power. They spend more money on security of their own people than they do security against their own people by the CCP than they do on anything else. That we do know. So no, China is not the adult in the room. There's a lot of things that they do wrong, and even you learn these things even though they hide a lot of it. So this is it's if you think about it, it's this bad for the information that we do know. I wonder how bad it actually is. So their money supply is 2 times as ours is, and they don't have the same kind of good aspects of the economy as we do. So interestingly enough, there is a article that came out that by a Chinese economist that did a speech, and they put it on 163.com, I went ahead and had it translated on Grok. So I wanted to quickly discuss it. I wonder if I can pull it up so at least it's on here. Here it is. Okay, well, it's a lot of text. So let's just talk about the very end of it. So this is an economist speaking in a forum for the economy. Here are some of the changes we have seen over these 3 years. First, sales area. So he's talking about the real estate. Sales area has declined by nearly 46% from its peak. From 2021 high point to last year's 970 million square meters, it represents a drop of 45.7%. Real estate investment has fallen by one-third, 32.1% from its peak, and new construction starts have dropped by 68% from the peak. This is a major decline across the industry, whether in sales area, investment, or new starts. This is the first major change in this deep adjustments. So Xi Jinping wanted to rein in the crazy environment of the real estate speculation. Okay, so let's discuss that with a video, right? And actually, there's a video by Lei. Yeah. So they built all these buildings by using down payment money from apartment buyers, and never actually building the apartments, just building more buildings. So they have like tons of buildings that are empty, completely empty, and they'll never be used.
Deserted shopping malls, half-empty apartment complexes,
this is from
abandoned
Bloomberg.
construction sites.
Yeah, I don't really
These are
want
all
to.
signs.
You know, I wanted to. It's interesting the information that is out there that is normal. Yeah, here, this is the one that's 1 minute. That's what I wanted to see.
How big is China's real estate bubble? The country has built way too many residential homes. After 3 years of investigation involving 5 million people, China's Ministry of Housing and Urban Rural Development recently announced that the country has 600 million residential buildings, not 600 million homes or apartments, but 600 million buildings.
Right, so let's think about the amount of apartments there are.
Or 15 billion people. That's like 2 homes for every person in the world. Realizing they've overbuilt, local governments started to tear down some of the buildings.
This is a really a major crisis in China. That's why the economist was saying there's 68% lower today than it was in 21.
The country has built way too many residential homes.
There is some serious economic damage going on in China. So I just wanted to point out one more thing from his speech. The third, the major impact on financial institutions. In recent years, issues such as non-performing assets in financial institutions caused by real estate developers' defaults, he called it thunderstorms, personal credit defaults, and local government debt problems have all created significant risk for financial institutions. And then it cut out. That was all they were able to transcribe. So anyway, it was kind of interesting. So the other thing is that the local governments, number 2, he was saying the local governments that don't have enough money because they get taxes. So if you think about it, like here in the States, you've got the county government, you got the state government, you got the Um, you have the city government. Well, all of those things in China all are dependent on real estate, and that is no longer viable. So they're in deep trouble. So anyway, I just wanted to discuss this item, and we'll go about on it a little bit more later. But this is the Chinese issue that will hurt us. And what happens is cyber attacks happen if people don't have any way to make money. They go into illegal type things. There was another
The
video
Chinese have
on.
this joke about Xi Jinping and Emmanuel
Oh,
Macron.
yeah, I don't want to. There's always. She has a lot of good videos, but there's one that I wanted to talk about that talks about what the Russian hackers do. There's a good video up on that because the hackers are kind of forced into it because they would rather be hackers rather than Ukraine cannon fodder. Anyway, thank you for listening. We'll go and discuss a little more crank in the future, near future. This is my bumper music. So I gotta keep some things the same.